Hi, I'm Paul Brodie, Mitch behind the cameras. And we're going to do bicycle related things today. We're going to build a fork raking jig. I have wood, I have metal. I'm helping out a friend. His name is Thomas, and he's built some frames. He's built 10 frames, and he wants to build a pair of custom forks for one of his bikes. And he doesn't have much experience building forks, so I'm going to help him out a bit. And I was thinking back to when I made 10 frames, and that was back in 1984. That was, what, 41 years ago. I was working at Rocky Mountain, and I was the mountain bike frame builder. There was also a road bike frame builder in that facility, Sherpa Manufacturing. And 10 frames, when you haven't built 10 frames before, that's a lot of work. And at the end of building 10 frames, there was a sense of accomplishment, but I also thought, what have I got myself into? Because it was a lot more work than I ever anticipated. So here we are. We've got some wood, and we're switching from motorcycle over to bicycle, and that makes me think that my life has always gone back and forth between motorcycles and bicycles. That's just how it is. And at the moment, now that I'm 70, I kind of got motorcycles going on, and I got bicycle stuff going on. So here we are. So I've got some hardwood. I don't know what it is. I showed it to Mitch. He did the sniff test, and he says it's cherry. So it doesn't really matter what kind of hardwood it is, but this will work just fine. And the first thing we're going to do is to go over the mill. It's not flat, and I need to hold this in the vise in the mill when I do some of the milling operations. So I'm going to take, and it's also got this here, so I'm going to cut it down to 1 3/4 inches. So that's the first step. Thanks for tuning in. Let's go to the mill. There it goes. I don't have a planer, but I have an end mill, so it seems to work fine. Here's the fork blades I got off of Thomas, and it's quite a heavy wall at the bottom. This is meant so you can add on the mount for a disc brake caliper. So it is what it is. Usually on the disc brake side it's heavier, but the person who sent these up to Thomas, these are both heavy walls, so it is what it is. So it's going to get 1 3/4 rake, which is 45 millimeters. So I'm just making a drawing for that so that I can tell when the rake is getting close, because I'm going to have to experiment a little bit when the jig gets finished, and hopefully it works. So there we go. 1.75 inches. I like making stuff like this. About a week ago, I was lying in bed, and it was one of those nights where I couldn't sleep. And I designed the whole jig in about an hour, hour and a half, something like that. I'm not sure the actual size of the dropouts. He's got a through axle, but I'm going to say it's 1.25 inches, so that'll be close enough. Because, you know, once the rake is on, you can add more rake, you can take off rake, you can adjust it. So this is what's going to happen. This, the fork blade is on the center line like that. And this has to be raked so that it comes over, and this is going to angle something like that. So that's basically all we need for a drawing right now. This is a little bit over 1/2 inch. This is a 33/64 drill, and it'll be used to drill out this. Can you see how this works? This is the clamp that holds it down. It's going to be that way, like that. That's where the fork blade is going to go into, like that. So we have to drill a hole in the middle here. We can hold this in the mill, and I've got another piece of hardwood. I can clamp it on, and we can drill straight down here in the middle. So I'm going to mark the middle, more or less, and then we're going to go back to the mill and use the drill chuck. And we need to drill an inch hole, because this is an inch. This is the clamp that's going to hold it. And on the bending, we're going to do the bending in the mill, on the mill table, because that's a really solid surface, and I can put a clamp on the mill table. That is my plan. I've clamped on an extra piece of wood here so I can drill right on the center line of the big block. Okay, that worked out really nicely. Okay, now we go back to the bench. I'm gonna mark the arc of the fork rake. I'm just kind of guessing, but should be okay. And then we'll come back to the mill, and we'll actually mill that slot. Oh, that could work. Maybe use the other side. How does that look? So that's what's going to happen. See how that's a pretty good, yeah, that's a pretty good fit, isn't it? And once it gets clamped down, that'll spread a little bit. So there's my mark. We're going to go over to the bandsaw now, and we're going to cut that out. And then I'm going to use a 5/8 ball end mill, and I'm going to angle this a little bit. I'll set the 0. I'll go down, well, 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit more than 1/4 inch, 300 thou, and I'll make a cut, move it a little bit, make another cut. Then I'll take a file. Where's my big file? Use my file, and I'll smooth it out. This is what happens when you can't sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning and you design a jig. That's my experience. Okay, over to the bandsaw. Bandsaw is set up. Let's do it. Okay, they don't have a CNC, so we're going to make a groove manually. So I change the angle a little bit, and then I do the same thing again. This is the first time I'm doing something like this. I've never quite done this before, so. Okay, made some progress here. So I think what I'm going to do now is to go to the vise on the bench, and I'm going to file it. So that's what it looks like. And every so often you can feel a little high spot, but take the file that down. We're making progress. Let's go over here. Okay, so what's happening now is as this gets larger in the OD, it fits well here, but then right about here it needs to be larger because it hangs up on the edges. So a spiral roll might work. Going to be a lot of dust, so maybe we'll go outside and do that. Okay, seems to fit in there, so we'll go back inside. We're going to make the piece of aluminum that clamps the end of the fork blade. So back to the mill. Okay, so this guy goes like that. Okay, I got a gap. That'll work. After this work, this is the big test. So let's see what happens. Okay, it's bending for sure. So maybe I'll put a little bit more bend on there, because I can always take it off. Okay, so it bent. Let's go over to the drawing and we'll see if we have enough bend on there. But that worked out. That's pretty stable. This is strong. This is very strong. So I didn't want to make something that had a separate clamp, because hard to beat something like this. It's nice and smooth. I like the radius. That turned out quite nice. There's no kinks or anything like that. So this, okay, if I line up the center, it looks like it could maybe go just a little bit more. Did you see those marks? Here, let me put the marks. That's where I think the tube wants to go. And if I line up the center like that, it looks like it needs a little bit more bend. So let's bend it a little bit more, and I'll make a stop so that when I bend this one, I can match it with this one. Okay, I'll get you to help me here. Yeah. Well, whatever. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I gotta try that.
Okay, so that's hitting now. Another successful day in the shop. Not every day is a success, but this worked out okay. Thanks for watching. Mitch and I like coffees. Please like and subscribe, tell your friends, and we'll be back on motorcycle content next week. Take care.